What's going on, guys? Minnesota here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over some of the best tips I can give to help improve your Valorant game. To preface this video, I will say that I don't have a whole lot of credibility nor authority when talking about any of these topics. I am not a professional Valorant nor CSGO player, and I'm not that highly ranked. I don't have anyone who can really vouch for the points I'm trying to make. But what I can say, however, is that these tips are reiterated constantly from pros and higher level players on what they do and what they tell others to work on in order to improve their game. My only quote-unquote qualifications for saying all this is that I have over 3,000 hours in CSGO, and I'm diamond in Valorant, or I have reached diamond ranks in Valorant, which puts me in a pretty high percentile. This video will be sectioned off into 15 different categories, including sensitivity, aim, crosshair placement, positioning, sight holding, angle clearing, rotating, map knowledge, communication, game sense, X factor, agent theory, mentality, game reviewing, and practice. And the timestamps will be in the video description, and the video will be sectioned off with the YouTube chapters. Feel free to jump around to any section you wish where I will discuss and justify the points I try to make. If you feel like I missed something or want to correct me or leave a helpful comment, please feel free to leave it in the comments section down below. Without further ado, let's get into it. Section 1. Sensitivity.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
Nice.
The first thing you need to do before even firing a bullet is to make sure you have the correct sensitivity. Now, you'll see pros all across the scene with various DPIs and in-game senses. Don't worry about them, and don't copy them. They know what works best for them. You need to find out what works best for you. This is honestly pretty simple to figure out, too. Here is what I recommend. Go to a custom game and select the map Haven. The map honestly doesn't matter, but for this exercise, I find the attacker spawn to work best. Now go to the attacker spawn and put a spray at about head level in between the two gold doorknobs. Focus on an area of the spray that's about the size of a player's head and start moving left to right. Hold down A all the way to the left, and then hold down D all the way to the right, while being focused onto that spray. This is called tracking. Tracking is how you stay on target with moving enemies. The better you are at tracking, the better your aim will be. If you find it too difficult to keep your crosshair trained on that area because it takes too much or too little mouse movement, increase or decrease your in-game sensitivity. You should be able to hone onto that zone and that sweet spot within a few minutes. Depending on what mouse you have, you might also need to change the DPI on your mouse. DPI stands for dots per inch. This is essentially your mouse's default sensitivity. Different DPIs work for different people. Most common DPI range for most is about 800 to 1600. Once you find a DPI and sensitivity combination you feel comfortable with, you shouldn't try to stray too far from this zone. Stick with it. Do not change it. Trust in your gut and work with it. The only way you'll be confident and trust your aim is if you stay in this zone and continue working on it. Constant sensitivity changes will ruin muscle memory and make you relearn everything again. Keeping yourself on one sensitivity and training it will yield you better results. Section 2. Aim.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
Easy.
Clip it, chat.
Yo, thank you so much.
Aiming is what separates every FPS game from each other and what makes Valorant unique. Skills, muscle memory, and mechanics are easy to transfer from one Call of Duty title to another, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a strictly controller FPS player to be able to pick up Valorant easily. Valorant and CSGO are often compared because the mechanics of each game are so similar. Why do 90% of all successful Valorant players have a background in CSGO? It's because the mechanics transfer over. Sure, it isn't a one-to-one copy, and new elements are introduced, but the fact of the matter is that a large majority of good Valorant players have thousands of hours locked into CS. Aim is what makes or breaks people. You've never seen Twitch highlights of good communication or good rotations. Most of them come from great playmaking and crisp aim. And for good reason, too. Great aim separates good aim, which separates from poor aim. If you're not comfortable with how you aim, you will never be comfortable with how you play the game. I'll say it again to reiterate. If you are not comfortable with how you aim, you will never be comfortable with how you play the game. You do not need to have the best aim of all time in order to be good and climb the ranks. Nor does it mean that you will never miss a shot or whiff. But you need to be confident in yourself that you will hit your shots when an enemy is right in front of you. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any insider unheard secret on how to improve your aim. It, just like every other skill, takes hundreds to thousands of hours to master. When you look at some of the best FPS aimers, including, but not limited to, Simple, Twist, Elige, Scream, Asuna, and Ye, it's second nature to them because they've done it so much. Repetition is your best friend here. They are confident enough that they will nail a spray onto an enemy from any distance 9 times out of 10.
Stay alive, stay alive. He can't plant.
There isn't some set-in-stone aim training regimen that will improve your game the quickest. There are several ways to go about this. The bare minimum and I believe most pros would recommend, would be between 15 minutes of pure aim warm-up before diving into a competitive game. Again, this is the minimum. This should include, but not be limited to, the practice range and deathmatch. As bad as a mode as deathmatch is, it's still important to practice against actual players with unpredictable movement, unlike the robots in the practice range. Your goal in deathmatch should not be to be at the top of the scoreboard. Your goal should be about consistency with your spray at any distance. This doesn't mean that every shot has to be a one-tap headshot, but whether you use the Phantom or the Vandal, make sure you're hitting your shots. If you aren't, you're not ready to go into a comp game yet. Other aim trainers like Aim Labs and Kovac can help provide you with useful exercises to help improve your aim as well, but I would not substitute them for Valorant. They should be used in addition to what you're already working on. One optional suggestion that I would make would be to download CSGO if you don't already have it installed. It is free. And go through the Steam Workshop to view some of the in-game aim training maps. The CSGO community is awesome because players provide these useful tools to you absolutely for free. Pro players still even use CSGO to warm up because it's just that much better than Valorant. Sure, it isn't Valorant, but it's the closest thing you're going to get to useful in-game feeling aim training. Section 3. Crosshair Placement.
One enemy remaining. Spike down B. Ace.
Crosshair placement and aim go hand in hand. I was considering doing a brief overview in the aim section about this, but I feel like I have enough good tips and points to make to warrant its own section. The saying that you'll often hear from people is, keep your crosshair at head level, which is true, but no map is completely level with no inclines or declines. A better saying I would coin would be, keep your crosshair where the enemy's head would be. I know it's basically the same thing, but thinking of it like this can be beneficial when clearing angles, where your crosshair might be pointed at the ground, at a wall, or up in the air. You want to predict where your enemy will be, so you move your mouse as little as possible. Although flicking is impressive, it shouldn't be counted on to bail you out of jail. It may look flashy, but most of the time you won't be hitting those crazy flicks. You want to position your crosshair to where you think the enemies will be. This isn't to say that enemies won't surprise you or be in a position you aren't aiming at, but the better you can predict where they will be and put your crosshair in that position, the more your aim and game will improve. Section 4. Positioning.
Nice chamber.
Nice,
oh my god.
Neil.
Fall back.
I don't think he can.
Oh my god, you can. What the?
Having great positioning will net you more kills. If you're in spots that are harder to clear or give you a distinct advantage over your enemy, you will win more battles. Great positioning varies on a lot of factors, including teammates alive, communication, the site, map control, etc. It also varies if you're attacking or defending. If you aren't as confident on your aim or have a slower reaction time, being positioned well will increase your odds of getting a kill / staying alive longer. Let's look at an example. For this, let's disregard the agents being shown and pretend that no abilities can be used. What agent on the left or the right would you say has better positioning? Well, let's play this out. This player is looking towards B main to see if he can spot an enemy coming and possibly getting a kill. He sees an enemy and fires a few bullets and afterwards falls back to site and sits here waiting for the enemy to push. The enemy eventually does and he gets the kill. Now, let's look at the other player. He's looking at the same spot, but this time he sits logs. He spots out the enemy, but can't land the shot. Now he's boxed in and must rely on him getting the kill if the enemy swings. The enemy wide swings him and he dies. Which one had better positioning? Most of you would probably say the first scenario. Why? Because he was able to get information, but not only that, he was able to stay alive, fall back to site, hold site, and get the kill. In the second scenario, sure, the player got the information, but it costed him his life and the entry onto site. Obviously, this is an oversimplification and mock scenario with a lot more factors to take into place during an actual game. But anyone watching this video can clearly see the difference and benefits of better positioning.
One elbow, one elbow.
Keep this phrase in your mind next time you're holding an angle or staying in a position. What will I do when I see an enemy? Play the scenario out in your head. What if you hit your shot? What if you miss your shot? What if there's more than one? Can you fall back? Can you stay alive? Will you alert your team? Etc. Staying alive the longest you can is going to help your team win the round more times than none. A Valorant round is less than 2 minutes. You just have to make smart decisions for 2 minutes, and staying alive is going to be the hardest obstacle in your way. Positioning may seem like a small area of the game to overlook, but I promise you, one of the most underrated aspects that separates pro players from lower level players is good positioning. Section 5. Site holding.
Effective.
Taking that back.
Site holding is obviously a very situational and random event. There isn't one given strategy to hold a site every single time in the game. Different agents work best for each site, and different utility setups will perform better on one site over another. The best mentality to have in order to hold a site properly is to weigh the pros and cons of every decision you make. If I peek this angle, what could happen? If enemies start rushing me, what will I do? The longer you can stay alive, even without killing an enemy, immediately gives your team an advantage. The minimum you should be doing every round is to expel as much utility as possible to keep the bomb site alive and eliminate one person. Everything beyond that is bonus. If you are dying with utility still in your pocket, you're not using it correctly. I would go into much more detail about certain site holds on different maps with different agents, but truth be told, there's already plenty of YouTube videos out there that you can watch to find out info on that. Site holding works in tandem with positioning. Position yourself in a way where your enemy won't expect you so you can get a kill. I know this section sounds pretty vague, but there truly is not much broad content I can go over without getting into the nitty-gritty of every single site on every single map with every single sentinel and controller agent. Bottom line, stay alive, use your util, and get a kill. If you can do that, you're doing your job correctly. Section 6. Angle clearing.
Whiffed, but we got the kill.
All set up.
Can you put the wall down? Hey, you can put it
I
back
use
up.
my ult.
Need to
Good.
defuse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it. Getting half.
One enemy remaining.
Nice, guys. Good shit, Neil.
This one is going to benefit a lot of newer FPS players. Clearing angles in games like CSGO and Valorant can be extremely difficult, especially against sharp 90-degree angles. Angle clearing and crosshair placement are similar, but the movement associated with angle clearing separates it a bit from the crowd. Let's look at an example of good and bad angle clearing, so you can see what I'm talking about in action. On your screen, you'll see two different people clearing the same angle. Which one do you think did it better? If you answered person B, you'd be correct. Here's what they did correct. Number 1, they did not round corners. Sharp angles, or angles that are flat against a 90-degree surface, take especially long to clear because agents are so small, and if you don't clear the corner fully, they can surprise you. Therefore, you want to be either fully swinging or jiggle peeking adjacent to that angle as shown in the footage. Rounding an angle not only lets the enemy see you first, but also makes you correct your crosshair placement and ends up getting you killed most of the time. 2, they place their crosshair in the correct spot. As I mentioned before with the crosshair placement section, you must predict where the enemy will be in order to have the best advantage in killing them. Person B had their crosshair pointed where the enemy's head would be, and it paid off. Number 3, they did it quickly. With a lot of angles to clear and not a whole lot of time on the board, you can't spend 30 seconds clearing every angle. You must be efficient and keep moving to clear the next one. Angle clearing is something that I've noticed a lot of lower level players do incorrectly. This is one of the easiest ways to improve your game quickly. It doesn't take a whole lot of practice because each angle clear works just about the same as every other. Make sure you move adjacently, have good crosshair placement, and be efficient. Section 7, rotating.
Portal closed.
Here we go, Neil. Owen was seen on site. Yep, he's cubby.
Spike down A.
3 mid.
Stop over rotating. Until you confirm the spike is somewhere on either site or you see all 5 enemies heading somewhere, you need an anchor on either site. So many times in lower ranks, in even higher ranks, players are jittery and anxious to leave a site at the sound of a few footsteps that they allow a lurker to move in freely and take the opposite site. Rotating, again, is not a hard concept to learn. Issues arise with a lack of communication, which we will talk about in an upcoming section. The best advice I can give to help you combat bad rotations is to call out at least how many enemies you see or hear. If you hear 2 sets of footsteps or see 2 enemies, say, I see at least 2 here, or I hear at least 2 here. Don't say it's A or B or they're here or they're all here when you cannot fully confirm that they are in fact all there. Once enemies start getting more aggressive and are pushing you, you can call out for a rotate. If your enemy team is on one side of the map or the bomb is on one side of the map and the enemies still aren't committing after 10 seconds, you need somebody to go back and buy time because most likely they faked a site and are heading somewhere else. Flanking is also an important subject to talk about when it comes to defensive rotations. The best advice I can give would be to be aware of your surroundings. Where are you on the map? Where are your enemies? What can your agent do to help defend a site as opposed to flanking? Some agents really should not be flanking because they're too vital and too important to be off-site. If you're playing Brimstone and you're at the orb on A site Haven and the enemy is planting on C, you flanking will probably not help at all. The best case scenario is you getting a kill, but by then, the enemies know where you are and you're going to get traded out. You're much better off going through the defender spawn and using your ult to help retake the site. Always play for the round win, not the cool TikTok clips you might be getting from a good flank. That happens to everyone every once in a while, but it's once out of 100 attempts. It's not worth it. Section 8, Map Knowledge.
1A main.
Oh my god, you're
Generator, I don't know.
Enemy remaining.
You're so much better.
Very good.
Oh my.
Attackers win.
Map knowledge is something pretty standard, everyone at every level knows, but I feel like is still an important section to go over. Map knowledge is how well you know the map. Well, obviously, but what do I mean by that? Familiarize yourself with common hiding places, lineup spots, good plant placements, utility locations, etc. The more you know about the popular spots on each map, the more you can combat them. I know this section seems like basic stuff, but you'd be surprised at how unaware people at higher ranks can be about certain spots on each map. Still to this day, I've run into people that are Plat Diamond Elo that still don't know there's a trapdoor on Breeze. Don't be that guy. Know your maps. An easy way of doing this is to either go into a custom game and look around, or find a YouTube video breaking down each bomb site on each map. Section 9. Communication.
Omen hit 60. They're all like 2-shot, boys. Every single one. 1 elbow, 1 on site, 2 elbow. Raze hit 64, Omen hit 60, KO hit 88. Last 2 hit 60 apiece.
One enemy remaining.
Last one hit 60.
Last
There it
player
is.
standing.
Good shit.
If aim is the bread of Valorant, communication is your butter. Good players have great aim. Great players have good aim and good communication. I suspect 99% of other pro players out there, would rather have someone who communicates and helps the team out with info and assists them than being a player who doesn't talk and only goes for frags. You cannot rely on your aim to bail you out of every situation. That's why good communication is important. Notice how I said good communication. Talking nonstop and spamming your mic is not good communication. Clear, concise callouts of information is what helps teams win rounds. Look at the voice comms of any pro Valorant or CSGO roster, and you'll notice players talk fast with precise info on what they see or what to expect. Afterwards, there's often long pauses to help the team focus until new information is gathered. This is how you should encourage your communication to be. It's okay to repeat things to gain a sense of urgency or quickly call out for a rotation towards a site, but you must also know when to stop talking and let the round play out. Giving callouts while in death chat is acceptable, but again, you have to be aware of the situation. What information you're giving out and who is playing. Spamming and telling the other player trying to clutch a 1v1 will make them annoyed and not play well. Tying in with good communication is familiarizing yourself with callout spots on the map. Again, most good players on Valorant have a CS background, so they'll say T/CT spawn instead of attacker and defender spawn, respectively. Heaven and Hell are the upper and bottom parts of a site. Cat is the catwalk way on certain maps, etc. Regardless of what others say, communication single-handedly can win you games. Section 10. Game Sense.
Surprise.
Game Sense will be the hardest thing to evolve over time compared to anything else on this list. There's a reason that so many high-level players get confused or caught off guard when they smurf in lower-ranked lobbies, because players at lower ranks just make unexpected plays you wouldn't normally see at higher ranks. Your game sense is the ability to analyze the information provided to you per round and make assumptions and decisions as to where your enemy is playing and what they are doing. Players with excellent game sense are usually the IGLs of the team, or in-game leaders, who make the decisions before, during, and after a round. A multitude of factors are taken into account, including the map, the agents, team economy, enemy team's economy, what's worked in the past, what hasn't worked in the past, and where people have played before, etc. There really is no way to teach game sense. It's something that will just grow and evolve with you the longer you play the game. The best way to increase your knowledge of the game is to watch better people playing, including streamers and pro matches. In professional matches, every single decision made is purposeful and has some intent or meaning behind it. The same can be said to an extent with high-level streamers as well. You will know you're improving your game sense when your decision-making improves. Section 11. X Factor.
Reloading. Give me those back. Give me those. No charges. Spike planted.
Enemy spotted A.
Your duty is one enemy remaining.
Flash out.
You on your own must decide and figure out what your X factor is. What are you exceptionally good at that separates you from the crowd? What can you rely on most of the time to either help yourself or help your team? Is it clutching? Your aim? Your in-game calling? Is it something completely different? Your X factor must be unique to yourself and different from everyone else. This isn't necessarily something mechanical you can learn, but it's something you must find within yourself, a natural talent, if you will, that you want to get better at. Regardless, learn to hone your skills into an area where you exceed at, so you always have a foundation you can rely on in case you're having a bad game. Section 12. Agent Theory.
Run.
I just whipped them.
One enemy remaining. Spike down.
Agent Theory is something better discussed through looking at the current meta. What are the professional teams running in their lineups to have the best chance at success? As of the time of making this video, which is on patch 4.0.1, after the introduction of Neon, this is how I would personally rank all of the Valorant agents. Anything S tier is a safe pick no matter what map. Anything A tier is also viable but can be situational for certain maps. Anything in B tier is viable some of the time. Anything in C tier is almost never viable, and anything in D tier is never viable. Other people may have different agents put into different tiers, which is fine. This is just my opinion, but I assume most pro players would have their picks in similar areas. You can't corner yourself into one agent. You can't be a one trick. You have to diversify yourself into a minimum of 3 different agents you're comfortable with. They must all be different categories. Learn a controller, initiator, and sentinel before you learn a duelist. If all you can contribute to the game is your aim, you aren't contributing enough. I'm not saying you should never pick a duelist, or if you pick a duelist, you're a bad player. Some people are inherently good duelists, and they help win games. That's perfectly fine. But you can't rely that you're going to get that agent every single time. And having a backup, or an agent you can fill to help your squad, will help you win games more times than none. Instant lock agents, although tempting, are not the best way of performing and winning games. Yes, you will get people in your games with no communication and instant lock jet and then die 6 seconds into the round. It happens. But that doesn't mean you should do it. Talking with your team to figure out who will play what is the ideal situation. But again, not realistic. Bottom line, know how to play more than one agent, and play an agent who will help you win your game. Section 13. Mentality.
Too fun.
One enemy remaining.
That's 3.
Mentality is an area of the game that can be very difficult for people to improve upon and overcome their shortcomings. It's easy to just say, just don't tilt, lol. But why do people tilt in the first place? There's a variety of factors that can contribute tilting in the game. Whiffing a shot, not getting traded, dying to something stupid, getting baited, dying quickly, losing a clutch. There's plenty of reasons to tilt, but most of them are out of your control. You will make mistakes. Your team will make mistakes. You will not win every game. You will D-rank. Things will go wrong. It's Murphy's Law. But you have to think of the bigger picture. Will raging, getting mad, and start throwing benefit you in the long run? Probably not. An hour, a day, a week, a month down the line, that one round or that one game will mean nothing, and you'll still be playing. With all this being said, you must also think of the game in a round-by-round mindset. Play every round to your fullest potential. It doesn't matter if you're up by 1 or down by 10. You must focus on winning each round individually. Don't think of what has happened or what could happen. Having the mentality of playing each round as it was for the win will get you in a winning mindset. Focusing on one round at a time is a much easier task than trying to plan out the entire game. Put your full attention to the round you're playing in, and you'll win more games. Major comebacks do happen. It's been done to me, and I've done it myself. Don't throw games away because you're up by a few rounds, because in the end, it will cost you. Keeping a cool, calm, and collective attitude will help you win more than raging. I promise. I've raged. I've gotten mad. I've broken things and yelled and gotten toxic. It doesn't help. I'm definitely not susceptible to raging. I can still get mad. I think there's very few people that I've seen stream their gameplay and not rage. It's an insanely rare and great skill to have. If you can already keep your composure while losing, you're doing better than most of the Valorant player base. Section 14. Game reviewing.
Jet's on site. Jet's on site. Oh, I'm fucked here. Really fucked here.
I got mollied or stunned or whatever the fuck.
Spike down A.
Nice.
One
You
A
killed.
main, one mid. A main and mid.
Chamber doing? Cutting through.
That's not what I wanted.
One enemy remaining.
Last is by me, I think.
Grabbing
A main.
orb. He's A main now.
Okay. Nice.
This was.
I should have had that ace. I should have killed that Jet. I'm a little mad.
Game reviewing is something very few people do, but has insanely rewarding benefits. Currently, there is no in-game review option for Valorant. You can't save a game and look at yours or others' POV or a free cam. If you want to review gameplay, you'll have to record it or stream it and then view the VOD. If you do have the ability to review your games, do it. Being able to watch your POV and see the mistakes you made and review them is key to improvement. Ask yourself the question each time you die. What could I have done differently to help win the round or benefit my team? Sometimes you'll die to BS. It happens. But when you wide swing 3 players, or push up and take map control when you're the only one holding an area and die, you can now see that and know what you have to do next time you're in that situation. It takes time and it's boring. But every pro team that wants to be successful does it. They review their own and other teams' footage for hours. They pay people to do it and take notes while they watch. Game reviewing is a heavily underrated and underappreciated aspect of improving your gameplay. Section 15. Practice.
Oh, they're all by that. All by them.
Remaining.
Oh my god.
You stole my
Good
4K.
job, boys.
You stole my 4K.
Dude, my 4K.
Practice, practice, practice. The only real way you're going to get better at the game is to play it. You can watch as many tips, lineup, or strategy videos as you want. But if you're not going to play the game consistently, you have no chance at improving. It isn't possible for everyone to play 10 games a day every day to improve. But if you're able to make progress playing once or twice a day consistently, you're going to be making enormous improvements over time. Finding people to play with helps a lot as well. Valorant even has an official Looking for Game Discord, where you're able to find people that are at your rank there. Along with that, see if your college, high school, or even middle school has an esports program. Esports has been growing dramatically in the past few years. My college started their program 2 years ago, and it's been awesome to be a part of. I'm currently a member on the team's Valorant roster. I'm by no means the best Valorant player on the team, but you don't need to be. You just have to work as a team to be the best. Keep practicing and keep being consistent. Practicing consistently will yield you better results. It may not happen tomorrow, or in a week, or in a month, but over time, you will get better as long as you're improving on aspects that you were originally poor at. Maybe it's only one of the areas in this video. Maybe it's 2 or 3 or all of them. But if you can work on something and improve at that, you're going to be doing a lot better off in the long run. Valorant is a fun game, but it can be difficult if it's your first entry into the tactical FPS genre. Some people have more natural talent than others, and they may improve quicker than you. What matters most is if you're having fun and improving while doing it. I'm not saying that these tips will turn you into a pro next week, but possibly work on 1 or 2 or all of the sections listed to help benefit your game. Who knows? Maybe somebody watching this video now will be a future Valorant pro. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe to see more content similar to this. If you're feeling somebody else would enjoy the video, make sure to send it their way as well. If any of these tips helped you, please let me know in the comments down below, along if you want to see any more Valorant videos. That's it for me, but until then, I will see you all next time.